Today is June 18th, 2025, and this is Read Through the Bible.
And you are leaving today, Yvonne.
Today I am flying to New York City.
On a jet plane.
On a jet plane,
That's
yes.
right. Why are you going to New York City?
So I am going with our daughter Carissa and her husband Caleb and their baby Theodore, and they are going to photograph a wedding. And I am going along for the ride, and I am the babysitter for the little baby who just turned 6 months old a couple days ago.
Wow, so you're flying out Wednesday, and then you'll be
Come back
there
Sunday night.
Yeah, and also you're going to be in New York City a little bit?
Yeah.
So the wedding's in Connecticut, though, I think, right?
Right, in Connecticut. And we're going to visit our niece and her husband in New York City and see some sights.
It sounds
really
really
a fun little trip.
Really fun. Okay.
Glad you're not going.
Yeah, I am too, but...
I'm glad I get to go.
Yep. Okay, so chapter 7 and 8, we're going off schedule a little bit. We're going to read Deuteronomy chapter 7 and 8. And these are great chapters, just Moses telling the people of Israel, right, to remember what God has done for you and don't forget what God has done for you and all the implications of all that in terms of entering the land.
Okay, chapter 7, verse 1. When the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, and clears away many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations, more numerous and mightier than you. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you and you defeat them, then you must devote them to complete destruction. You shall make no covenant with them and show no mercy to them. You shall not intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons or taking their daughters for your sons. For, here's why, they would turn your sons from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of the Lord would be kindled against you, and he would destroy you quickly. But thus shall you deal with them. You shall break down their altars and dash in pieces their pillars and chop down their asherim and burn their carved images with fire.
No mercy.
And the assumption is they are so given over to idolatry that they will influence you towards idolatry if you let them exist and live with you.
Yep. It's so easy to be influenced by the world. Yeah. It's difficult for believers to influence people to the ways of God.
Because God didn't say, just go in and infiltrate them and tell them about me and they'll believe. Yeah. He didn't say that.
And for you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for his treasured possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth.
Makes me think of 1 Peter 2, for you are a chosen race, a holy, whatever.
Yeah, and that pulls right from here, and the whole idea, this sets a context for Genesis chapter 12. God just plucked Abraham out and just said, I'm going to choose you and be a blessing for Israel. And here's why. He explains why. It was not because you were more in number than all the other peoples that the Lord set his love on you and chose you, for you were the fewest of all peoples. In other words, God his choosing wasn't because they'd already done things for God, but they were the few. There were only one. But here it is. It's because the Lord loves you and is keeping the oath that he swore to your fathers, that the Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the house of slavery and from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repays to their face those who hate him by destroying them. He will not be slack with one who hates him. He will repay him to his face. You shall therefore be careful to do the commandment and the statutes and the rules that I command you today.
And because you listen to these rules and keep and do them, the Lord your God will keep with you the covenant and the steadfast love that he swore to your fathers. He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your ground, your grain and your wine and your oil, the increase of your herds and the young of your flock in the land that he swore to your fathers to give you. You shall be blessed above all peoples. There shall not be a male or female barren among you or among your livestock. And the Lord will take away from you all sickness. Wow. And none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which you knew, will he inflict on you, but he will lay them on all who hate you. And you shall consume all the peoples that the Lord your God will give over to you. Your eye shall not pity them, neither shall you serve their gods, for that would be a snare to you.
The same theme, right? It says in verse 2, show them no mercy, and here, do not pity them. It just shows God's going to completely destroy them, provide totally for you, just because he loves you. He's going to provide for the nation of Israel.
And he's doing that because those people would turn the Israelites' hearts away from God.
If you say in your heart, these nations are greater than I, how can I dispossess them? You shall not be afraid of them, but you shall remember what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt. So in other words, he took 1 million people, took them out of slavery, brought them free. Like, if God did that...
with signs and wonders.
God can certainly destroy the nations.
Yeah.
The great trials that your eyes saw, the signs, the wonders, the mighty hand, the outstretched arm by which the Lord your God brought you out, so will the Lord your God do to all the peoples of whom you are afraid. And so this is just the story of the Exodus becomes often repeated for Israel as a demonstration of God's power. And even like Exodus 10 verses 1 and 2 speaks about that he hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he could show this great power, so that you could always look back and remember the great power of the Lord, how he made a mockery of Pharaoh and the Egyptians. And that's what he's saying. Just look back what God has done, and he can do it again in the future. So trust him for the future. Moreover, the Lord your God will send hornets among you until those who are left and hide themselves from you are destroyed. You shall not be in dread of them, for the Lord your God is in your midst, a great and awesome God. And the Lord your God will clear away these nations before you little by little. Here you go.
Yeah, and keep going. Because here's why.
You may not make an end of them at once, lest the wild beasts grow too numerous for you.
Yeah, so I just think it's interesting that God even was intentional in his plans to gradually wipe out the other nations, lest wild beasts come in and take over and be a threat to them.
Yeah, so you can take over the land and kind of inhabit it and care for it. Because if you neglect buildings and you take over places, then the wild beasts will come in.
And I think sometimes in our lives, God does things gradually rather than giving us what he's planned for us all at once.
Yep, so you can handle it. But the Lord your God will give them over to you and throw them into great confusion until they are destroyed. And he will give their kings into your hand, and you shall make their name perish from under heaven. No one shall be able to stand against you until you have destroyed them. The carved images of their gods you shall burn with fire. You shall not covet the silver, the gold that is on them, or take it for yourselves, lest you be ensnared by it, for it is an abomination to the Lord your God. And you shall not bring an abominable thing into your house, and become devoted to destruction like it. You shall utterly detest and abhor it, for it is devoted to destruction. All right, so if you look to summarize this, I think the unique thing here, maybe not unique, but it's just why God did all of this is because of his great love for the people of Israel.
And his choice of them. And just the reminder to completely destroy the inhabitants of the land and all their idols.
No mercy, no pity.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this little by little concept is, you like that so much in verse 22. Okay, chapter 8.
Okay, verse 1. The whole commandment that I command you today, you shall be careful to do, that you may live and multiply and go in and possess the land that the Lord swore to give to your fathers. And you shall remember, keyword, you shall remember the whole way that the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. And he humbled you and let you hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that comes from the mouth of God.
That's so helpful. Like Jesus quotes that in his temptation, Matthew chapter 4, Luke chapter 4. But to know the context, it's like he made you hunger so that he can provide you manna, so that you know that we live
totally dependent on God and on from every word that God speaks.
Yep. And so also just throughout here, we're going to see just all that God has done for Israel when they're in the wilderness wandering.
Miraculous. Yep. So many miraculous things. Okay, verse 4. Your clothing did not wear out on you, and your foot did not swell these 40 years.
Okay, that's 40 years of clothing not wearing out, and you sometimes mock the clothes I wear because I wear them past worn out. The elbows are worn out.
So does that justify your...
And we've only been married 33, so this has got some more before they got to go.
Oh, boy. Okay, verse 5. Know then in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, the Lord your God disciplines you. So you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God by walking in his ways and by fearing him. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks, of water, of fountains and springs flowing out in the valleys and hills. And just think all these people have known is the wilderness. And to imagine a land that's flowing with water and springs must have been amazing.
Yep.
Verse 8, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron and out of whose hills you can dig copper. And you shall eat and be full, and you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land he has given you.
Okay, and then here comes the big punch of chapter 8. Which is like the big punch of all of Deuteronomy, right? Remember, don't forget. Mm-hmm. Take care lest you forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments and his rules and his statutes, which I command you today. Lest when you have eaten and are full and have built houses and live in them, and when your herds and your flocks multiply and your silver and gold is multiplied and all that you have is multiplied. I just think that's America. Right? Just God has blessed our nation greatly. We have so much. God has blessed us. Then your heart be lifted up and you forget the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You can easily read that, right? That God has blessed you abundantly, and don't have your heart be lifted up. Forget Christ and who came to redeem you. Right? Who led you through the great and terrifying wilderness with its fiery serpents and scorpions and thirsty ground where there was no water, who brought you water out of the flinty rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna that your fathers did not know, that he might humble you and test you to do you good in the end. Beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the wealth of my hand have gotten me this wealth. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth. That he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers as it is this day. And if you forget the Lord your God and go after other gods and serve them and worship them, I solemnly warn you today that you shall surely perish. Like the nations that the Lord makes to perish before you, so shall you perish, because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God. Boy, so many things there, right? I mean, just think about verse 17, my power and my might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. Sounds just like Nebuchadnezzar, and God humbled him in Daniel chapter 4. Or this verse in verse 18, it's he who gives you power to get wealth. One of the things we do at church is we support Farms International, which is a organization that really helps with microloans overseas, so as to help people get out of poverty, for the believers to get out of poverty, to them able to support their local churches. And this is one of their key verses, is Deuteronomy 8, verse 18. It's he who gives you power to get wealth. So it's God is the one who enables just the prosperity to be able to build up and to have some wealth and some equity that you would enjoy your life. And yet so many in America with the power and wealth have forsaken the Lord. They've forgotten, turned away. Okay, so in terms of summary, just verse 11 is super key here.
Yeah. And then specifically, like, there are very detailed descriptions of how abundant the land is going to be, and then a stern warning, though, a sobering warning about, but don't forget the Lord when you have all of these wonderful things. Yeah,
and a lot of detailed remembrance of all that he did for you in the wilderness. Yeah. And of how good the land is, like just how helpful it is to remember all the Lord has done for you, and don't forget the blessings of the Lord in your life.
And there's a sense where the wilderness seasons in our lives are good because our need causes us to depend desperately on God. And that's a good place to be.
Yep. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.